This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and that far. We keeping a foot on the what? Geeks. We keeping a foot on the what? Geeks. And like the Tibetan Mastiff that I am, and like the Siberian Tiger that I am, I'm applying what? On immediate pressure. Because pressure does what? It bursts its pipes. Let's talk about it, man. All right, let's delve right into it. Let's explain it so that you guys can get the bigger hot pocket topic message here. When it's all said and done, we have to ask ourselves a question here. We have to ask ourselves a delineation. We have to ask ourselves a distinction, a gulf, and a separation. And what is that? That LeBron James is not the player that you guys think that he is. See, LeBron James is what we would say a LaFraud James. LeBron James is what we would say basically a guy who does not represent anything that's real that's associated with basketball. LeBron James is LaFraudulent. When you sit there and you go and get Russell Westbrook, basically Russell Westbrook of Russville, a guy that's ball dominant just as much as you, it shows us that you are desperate. Because there's no world where a LeBron James, and I'm going to give him credit, that's thinking on all cylinders. Because if there's anything that LeBron does, and he does well, if he doesn't do anything else, is think. But he's not thinking here. Because he added a guy who's going to clog him out of the situation. It's going to put him in a precarious situation because you have two ball cloggers here. You have two guys that have to have the balls in their hand in order for them to give you a similitude as if they're dominant. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. It's a fundamental problem. It's a fundamental issue because what it's spelling out, the message that it is sending, the message that it is basically letting everyone know, that is when it's all said and done, LaFraud James is what he is, a fraud job. And that LaFraud James is everything that we knew him to be as a basketball player, a fraudulent basketball player, a guy that is not for real, a guy that is not that deal, but a guy that's all about everything that has to do with the ultimate fact that LaFraud James is not going to succeed in the manner that you guys think that LaFraud James is going to succeed. That's really what it boils down to here. When it's all said and done, LaFraud James will do what LaFraud James always does. And that sends the message that LaFraud James will not excel when the time comes for LaFraud James to not excel. LaFraud James is going to learn what LaFraud James needed to learn by him second guessing the fact that this team got put together the way it did. This was basically how we would say, a desperation to try to deal with where Brooklyn is at. This is what it's all about. Because if this was not a desperation, if this was not a answer, a cry, a song cry to deal with where Brooklyn is at, then why even make this pivotal, fatal, erroneous decision to get a guy that's going to clog up the basketball as much as you are? LeBron James needs the ball in his hands for 23 seconds just for him to be effective. So why would you have a Russell Westbrook of Russville playing basketball to have the ball at 23 seconds in his hands to make erroneous decisions? Bron and Brody. Try Bron and fighting. It's not going to be Bron and Brody. It's going to be Bron fighting. That's what it's going to be. Because he's going to fight Brody. Brody's not going to be the Brody. Brody's going to be the fighter. Because they're going to have to fight one another to decide who's going to be the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands, the guy that's going to decide the fate, the guy that's going to decide who is going to deliver the goods. Because when it's all said and done, that's what it boils down to. That's really what it's about. LeBron James and Russell Westbrook of Russville both deciding the fact that they both are going to clog up the basketball lane. That they're both going to find themselves in precarious situations where they're going to be yelling at one another. We know this to be true because James Harden proves this to us. James Harden is a borderline LeBron James. Did it work in Houston Rockets? No, it fucking didn't. You know why it didn't work? Because you couldn't have two guys that clogged up the possession. So James Harden had to play a position that James Harden is not comfortable playing, which is shooting fucking guard. You see where I'm going with this? This is ultimately what's going to have to happen to LeBron James if he's going to want Russell Westbrook of Russville to thrive. He's going to have to do something that he's never done before in his basketball career. which is deferred when it comes to ball handling. So this is the first issue in of itself that they have to deal with. Now here's the second issue in of itself. Carmelo Anthony is a ball stopper. But people say, but look at how he played with the Portland Trailblazers. Carmelo Anthony was faking the funk, man. He's a mellow snake. The reason why Carmelo Anthony was playing that way is because that was his get into the NBA card, get back into the NBA card. So he had to play the dance. Now that Carmelo Anthony's back in the NBA, you're going to see the mellow snake of the isolation basketball player that he is, the ball stopper that he is, the guy that has to basically take the basketball and do what the basketball does, which is basically tell you in an unquestionable, in an unequivocal, in an emphatic way that he's going to basically clog up possessions after possessions after possessions. These are the three worst people to put together. We saw what Carmelo did when he played with the Denver Nuggets. We saw his time with the New York Knicks. He clogged up possessions after possessions after possessions. LeBron, if he was thinking straight. LeBron, if he still had the cachet. LeBron, if LeBron was still able to bring in high marquee young players, would have never accepted this bullshit and fuck shit. Would have never accepted this fraudulent fluky. Would have never accepted this least path of resistance, this infinite Sukuyumi, this virtual reality affair. Because you know what LeBron James would have done in his right LeBron James mind? He would have accepted the inevitable fate. And the inevitable fate, which is as simple as this, that LeBron James would understand that when it's all said and done, that this does not work. And then you have Anthony Davis. He needs his fucking touches. He needs the ball in his hands in order for him to be Anthony Davis. He's going to suffer. There's not going to be no Anthony Davis doing what Anthony Davis was doing before. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of slow singing, a lot of flower bringing. That's what's going to ultimately happen. The Lakers are going to reveal themselves as the fakers that they are. The Lakers are going to reveal the failures that they are. The Lakers are going to reveal to you guys that they don't have it together. And they never fucking did. This is a lot desperation move to try to go up against where Brook laying at, where Brook laying at, where Brook laying at, where Brook laying at. But when Biggie said it, he asked a question. He done made an emphatic statement. The question that Biggie asked, the emphatic statement that he made is that he prophesied that a KD trade 5, a KD 3-5, a Mr. Do Me and I Chill, a 50, 40, 90 walking gazelle was going to dominate. You know the only reason why the Brooklyn Nets didn't go to the NBA Finals? Kyrie Irving went down. James Harden really didn't fucking play. And Kevin Durant didn't have his ultra instinct mastered legs up under him. Because there was no question that he was ramelanging Giannis Antetokounmpo. There was no question that Giannis Antetokounmpo couldn't stick him. There was no questioning that. So what is understood doesn't need to be explained. That's why he went through the U.S. Olympics, so that he can engineer and ensure that his legs are up under him, that his faculties are up under him, so that when he comes back into the new season, he's going to do what he's supposed to do, which is incumbent upon him to do, which is to restore the natural order of basketball, which is to be the natural order of basketball restorer. This is why the Los Angeles Fakers, in luck desperation fashion, got a team that they built together of guys that really don't fucking fit. You got Dwight Howard, the fucking El Goof fucking troop ball. He didn't work the first time around. Wasn't he on the Fakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in them? Now he's back. He didn't work at that time?
Go ahead.
No, he fucking did. And don't tell me about the Mickey Mouse title. What happened when they played in a real NBA season? An infinite Sukuyumi, a virtual reality affair. Yeah, they won. Because nobody was there to give them the competition. But what happened when competition faced itself? It reared its ugly head. We saw LeBron James was first fucking rounded. That's what we saw at its truest and its most properest levels. Because there's levels to this shit and there's fucking gears. And the levels and the gears are as simple as this. That the Fakers are everything that the Fakers are. Which are fucking fakers. They were never believers. They were never real. They were fucking pretenders. And pretenders do what pretenders always do, which is never deliver in the fucking clutch. Because basketball is all about being clutch. We know that LeBron James is allergic to being clutch. Now I had to ride a little bit on this one. The Los Angeles Fakers is a la desperation of what they put together. This is a la shit show. It's a la circus clown show. Yes, all of these guys were all-stars, but in their own respective teams, when they were able to not have to worry about another man that's going to clog up the possession. But now you got a bunch of possession cloggers on the same team, and you think that's a basketball team? It's a things that make you say, It's a things that make you say, When you put a basketball team together, it has to have cohesion. LeBron knows this, but LeBron's on his last leg. And he knows that he has to stack the cards of the deck. This is the only way that he could justify his freaking love fate. Because he got first rounded. And when you get first rounded, you get la desperate. Let me say it again. When you get first rounded, you get la desperate. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat true teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? Neeks. I keeps the foot on the what? Neeks. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.